In just 41 seconds, one of music's greatest legends went from smiling politely to absolutely losing it on Jimmy Kimmel, calling him out on national television, before storming off the stage in what witnesses are calling the most explosive talk show meltdown in recent memory. What started as a simple conversation about her legendary career turned into a full-blown battlefield when Kimmel made one comment too many, and Chaka Khan had absolutely had enough of his disrespect. Before we get into this absolute train wreck of an interview, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the moments that reveal who these celebrities really are behind the fake smiles. Last night's episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live was supposed to be a celebration. Chaka Khan, the queen of funk herself, was there to talk about her incredible 50-year career in music, her influence on generations of artists, and her latest projects. The audience was packed with fans, many of them wearing "I'm Every Woman" t-shirts, ready to cheer for a living legend. But what they got instead was a masterclass in how not to interview someone you claim to respect. And it all went sideways, faster than anyone could have predicted. The show started normally enough. Kimmel did his opening monologue, cracking jokes about the news and getting his usual laughs from the studio audience. When he announced Chaka Khan as his guest, the crowd went absolutely wild. She walked out looking stunning, wearing a flowing purple outfit that sparkled under the stage lights, her signature hair perfectly styled. She waved to the audience, clearly happy to be there, and sat down on the guest chair with a warm smile. "Chaka Khan, everybody," Kimmel said, clapping along with the audience. "It is such an honor to have you here. I mean, you are an absolute legend." "Thank you so much, Jimmy," Chaka responded, her voice warm and gracious. "I'm happy to be here." "So, 50 years in the music industry," Kimmel continued, leaning back in his chair. "That's incredible. Most people can't even keep a gym membership for 50 days, and here you are, 5 decades of making hits." The audience laughed, and Chaka smiled politely. "Well, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work," she said. "Music has been my life, my passion, my everything." "Let's talk about some of those hits," Kimmel said, picking up a note card. "I'm Every Woman," "Ain't Nobody," "Through the Fire." I mean, these are songs that everyone knows. Do you ever get tired of singing them? Chaka's smile flickered for just a moment, but she kept her composure. "You know, those songs mean so much to people. When I perform them, I see the joy on people's faces, the memories they bring back. So no, I don't get tired of them. They're part of my legacy." Right, Kimmel said. But there was something in his tone that felt dismissive, like he wasn't really listening. "But I mean, it's basically the same songs over and over again, right? Like, don't you ever want to just sing something from this century?" The audience went quiet for a second, sensing the slight edge in his comment. Chaka's expression changed slightly, her smile becoming more fixed, more professional. "Actually, I've released new music throughout my career," she said, her voice still pleasant but with a hint of steel underneath. "I've never stopped creating, never stopped evolving as an artist." "Oh, sure," Kimmel said, waving his hand like he was brushing off her point. "But let's be honest, nobody's really here for the new stuff, right? They want the classics. They want the old Chaka Khan." You could feel the temperature in the room drop. Several people in the audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Chaka sat up a little straighter, and when she spoke, her voice was carefully controlled. "I think that's a bit disrespectful to say, Jimmy. I'm not some nostalgia act. I'm a living, breathing artist who continues to create and perform at the highest level." Kimmel laughed, but it sounded forced. "Come on, I'm just kidding around. Don't be so sensitive. You know how this works." "Do I?" Chaka asked, and there was a definite edge to her voice now. "Because it seems like you invited me here to celebrate my career, but what you're actually doing is diminishing it." Whoa, Kimmel said, holding up his hands in mock surrender. "I'm not diminishing anything. I literally just called you a legend like 2 minutes ago. I think you're taking this the wrong way." "Am I?" Chaka leaned forward, her eyes locked on Kimmel's. "Because what I'm hearing is you telling me that my decades of work, my artistic evolution, my contributions to music don't matter unless it's something you personally remember from your childhood." The audience was dead silent now. This was not the playful back-and-forth banter that usually happened on these shows. This was real tension, real frustration bubbling to the surface. Kimmel looked a bit taken aback, like he genuinely didn't understand why Chaka was upset. "Look, I think you're being a little dramatic here," he said. And that was clearly the wrong thing to say, because Chaka's entire demeanor changed in an instant. "Dramatic?" she repeated, her voice rising slightly. "You invite me on your show, you act like you're honoring me, and then you sit here and mock my career to my face, and I'm being dramatic?" "I wasn't mocking anything," Kimmel protested, but his voice had that defensive quality that people get when they know they've messed up, but don't want to admit it. "I was making jokes. That's what I do. That's literally my job." "Your job is also to make your guests feel respected," Chaka shot back. "Your job is to have actual conversations, not just set people up so you can punch down for a cheap laugh." Kimmel's face was getting red now. "Punch down? Are you kidding me right now? You're Chaka Khan. How am I punching down? If anything, you're punching down at me. Because you're sitting there with all the power," Chaka explained, her voice passionate but controlled. "You have the audience, you have the cameras, you have the editing room, and you're using all of that to make me look like I should just be grateful you even remembered my name." "That is not what I was doing," Kimmel insisted, but he was clearly rattled now. "You're completely misreading this situation." "Then explain it to me," Chaka challenged. "Explain how telling me my new music doesn't matter is respectful. Explain how saying people only care about my old songs is honoring my career. Please, I'd love to hear this." Kimmel ran his hand through his hair, looking frustrated. "Okay, fine. Maybe I could have phrased things better. But you have to understand, this is a comedy show. We make jokes. We poke fun. That's the format." "But who are you poking fun at?" Chaka asked. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're not making fun of yourself. You're not making fun of some absurd situation. You're making fun of me and my life's work. And then acting confused when I don't find it funny." The band's drummer accidentally hit his cymbal, the sharp sound cutting through the tension. Nobody laughed. Kimmel glanced at his notes, clearly trying to figure out how to salvage this situation. "Let's just move on," he said. "Let's talk about something else." "No," Chaka said firmly. "I don't think we should just move on. I think this is important. I think what's happening right here, right now, is exactly what's wrong with how women, especially black women, especially older black women in the music industry get treated." "Oh, come on," Kimmel said, and there was a dismissive tone in his voice that made several people in the audience gasp. "Don't make this about race and gender. That's not what this is about." Chaka's eyes flashed with anger. "You don't get to tell me what this is about. You don't get to dismiss my lived experience because it makes you uncomfortable." "I'm not uncomfortable," Kimmel said, but his body language said otherwise. He was shifting in his seat. His voice was getting louder, more defensive. "I just think you're overreacting to what was supposed to be a light-hearted conversation." "Light-hearted?" Chaka repeated, incredulously. "There's nothing light-hearted about telling someone their current work doesn't matter. There's nothing lighthearted about reducing 50 years of groundbreaking artistry to a nostalgia trip. You wouldn't say this stuff to a male artist. You wouldn't tell Bruce Springsteen that nobody cares about his new music. You wouldn't tell Paul McCartney that people only want to hear the Beatles songs." "That's different," Kimmel started to say, but Chaka cut him off. "How? How is it different? Explain to me exactly how it's different." Kimmel opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have an answer, and everyone in the studio could see it. The silence stretched out, uncomfortable and heavy. Finally, Kimmel tried to laugh it off. "Okay. Clearly we got off on the wrong foot here," he said, attempting to inject some levity back into the situation. "Why don't we take a quick break, reset, and come back?" "No," Chaka said, and the finality in her voice was unmistakable. "I don't think so." "Come on," Kimmel pleaded, and now he was starting to look genuinely worried. "Don't be like this. Let's just talk this out." "I tried to talk it out," Chaka said, standing up from her chair. "I tried to explain to you why your comments were hurtful and disrespectful, and you dismissed everything I said. You made excuses. You told me I was overreacting. You told me I was being dramatic. So no, Jimmy, I don't think we need to talk this out anymore." The audience was completely frozen. Some people had their hands over their mouths. Others were filming on their phones, capturing every moment of this historic meltdown. Kimmel stood up too, looking panicked now. Chaka, please, let's not do this, he said. Come on, sit back down. We can fix this. You can't fix decades of this kind of treatment with one conversation, Chaka told him, her voice strong and clear. And I'm done being polite while people disrespect me. I'm done smiling through the insults. I'm done pretending it doesn't hurt when people treat me like I'm some relic from the past instead of the living, breathing, creating artist that I am. Nobody's calling you a relic, Kimmel protested. But even as he said it, he seemed to realize how his earlier comments could absolutely be interpreted that way. Yes, you did, Chaka said simply. Maybe not in those exact words, but that's exactly what you implied. And you know what? I don't have to stand for it. I don't have to sit here and take it just because you have a TV show. She started walking toward the side of the stage, and that's when Kimmel made his biggest mistake of the night. He actually reached out and grabbed her arm, trying to stop her from leaving. Wait, just wait a second, he said urgently. Chaka stopped and looked down at where his hand was gripping her arm, then slowly raised her eyes to meet his. The look on her face was pure ice. Get your hand off me, she said, her voice low and dangerous. Kimmel immediately let go, holding his hands up. Sorry, I'm sorry, You just what? Chaka demanded. You just thought you could physically stop me from leaving? You thought you had the right to grab me? No, I wasn't trying to. I just wanted… Kimmel was stumbling over his words now, visibly flustered. You wanted me to stay here and let you save face, Chaka finished for him. You wanted me to help you smooth this over so you don't look bad. But you know what, Jimmy? That's not my job. My job was to come here and talk about my music, my career, my life. Your job was to be a respectful host. And you failed. Spectacularly. This is ridiculous, Kimmel said. And there was anger creeping into his voice now, probably out of embarrassment. You're making a huge deal out of nothing. Nothing? Chaka's voice rose for the first time. Nothing? You disrespect me? You dismiss me? You physically grab me? And you have the audacity to stand there and tell me it's nothing? A woman in the front row of the audience shouted, You tell him! And several other people started clapping in support of Chaka. Kimmel's face got even redder. Okay, you know what? He said, his voice tight. If you want to leave, then leave. I tried to have a nice conversation. I tried to celebrate your career, and you turned it into this. So if you want to storm off and make a scene, go ahead. Make a scene? Chaka laughed, but there was no humor in it. Jimmy, you made the scene. I'm just refusing to be part of it anymore. There's a difference. Whatever, Kimmel said, waving his hand dismissively. Go. We'll just go to commercial early. That's right. Run to commercial, Chaka said, shaking her head. Hide from what you did. Pretend it didn't happen. That's what you guys always do, isn't it? You poke and prod and insult people, and then when they stand up for themselves, you act like they're the problem. I don't have to stand here and listen to this, Kimmel said. No, you don't, Chaka agreed. But I didn't have to sit there and listen to your disrespect either. And yet I did for way too long. I should have walked off the moment you made that first comment about my music not mattering. I never said your music doesn't matter, Kimmel practically shouted. Yes, you did, Chaka shouted back. Maybe not word for word, but that was the message. That's always the message when people like you interview people like me. We're supposed to be grateful you even remember we exist. We're supposed to laugh along when you reduce our life's work to a punchline. We're supposed to make you look good while you make us feel small. That's not fair, Kimmel said, and now he sounded almost wounded. That's not what I do, isn't it? Chaka challenged. Because that's exactly what you did tonight. And when I called you on it, instead of apologizing, instead of taking responsibility, you told me I was overreacting. You told me I was being dramatic. You made excuses. And then you grabbed me when I tried to leave. So tell me, Jimmy, which part of that makes you the good guy in this story? Kimmel didn't have an answer. He just stood there, his face red, his jaw clenched, looking like he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. The studio was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming. That's what I thought, Chaka said quietly. She turned to the audience, many of whom were now openly crying or looking shocked. Thank you all for your support tonight. I'm sorry you had to see this, but I hope maybe it teaches something about standing up for yourself, about knowing your worth, about refusing to accept disrespect just because someone has a platform. She started walking toward the exit again, her head held high, her dignity intact. Kimmel called after her one more time. "You're going to regret this." Chaka stopped, turned around slowly, and looked at him with something like pity in her eyes. "No, Jimmy, I don't think I will, but I think you might." And with that, she walked off the stage, through the backstage area, and out of the building, leaving Kimmel standing there looking lost and angry, while his band scrambled to fill the dead air with music. The cameras caught everything: his stunned expression, the shocked faces in the audience, the empty chair where a legend had been sitting just moments before. The Queen of Funk had spoken her truth, and she hadn't let anyone silence her. Not the host, not the cameras, not the pressure to be polite and accommodating and grateful. She had drawn her line in the sand, and she had walked away with her head held high, leaving behind a talk show host who had learned absolutely nothing except that maybe, just maybe, he couldn't treat everyone however he wanted without consequences. As Chaka pushed through the exit doors and stepped into the cool night air, she took a deep breath and smiled. For the first time since the interview had gone south, she had stood up for herself. She had refused to accept disrespect. And she had done it in front of millions of people who needed to see that sometimes walking away is the most powerful thing you can do.